Hello, welcome to ISE Show TV. This is Paul Milligan. Thanks for joining us for the latest on our series of panel discussions at ISE 2019. I'm joined today by Stephen Barker from Cordless Consultants at the end there. Hi, Stephen. And next to me is Dan Gatenby from Hewshot. So a pair of consultants we have this today. The topic is looking at something that was raised in the January issue, which was should big AV firms be looking at buying architectural practices to bring that expertise in-house? It was a discussion that we've had many times about the friction that can often occur on projects between consultants and integrators of consultants and architects. Is this something that you guys, Darren, would you be in favour of this, or do you think it's not necessary?
I personally, from experience, would be in favour of it to a certain extent. There are quite a lot of projects that I've worked in the past and that we're currently working on. It would have been very, very beneficial to have that expertise in-house at that point in time when we were engaged. Because by that point, obviously, drawings were done, materials were already sort of decided upon, room sizes and materials within rooms have already been decided upon, and obviously that then reflects in certain ways to us doing the design from an acoustic perspective and things like that. So I would personally be in favour of it, yes.
Stephen, how do you feel about it?
A lot of what Darren says resonates with obviously what we experience every day when we do designs for AV systems. I'm a consultant, but I've also got a background in contracting, so I've seen that side as well. There is a natural tension in a design between architects and AV providers of all description, because we want it to work, they want it to look nice. It's a natural tension, and I don't think bringing that in-house will actually help that problem. I think it'd still be there, just be an in-house discussion, and who's the most important. That's usually a client decision.
Sure. Yeah.
Also, architects do a huge amount of stuff, and we only need a little bit of that expertise. So I think knowledge of what they do and understanding of how buildings are put together we need, but the actual architecture, no, I don't think so. Also, from a consultancy point of view, we get work from architects. If we had architects in our practice, that would be a conflict of interest for them.
But in terms of if you had the expertise in-house, would that not maybe smooth the process? I know there is, you said about the friction.
I mean,
because in theory, you're still working towards the same goal.
Well, yes.
Maybe a bit more so.
Yeah, in theory.
I understand what you're saying there within, in terms of the architectural scope is huge, obviously depending upon the project. And we are feeding into, a small percentage of that, and sort of listening to what you just said there, maybe not in terms of an AV integrator having an entire architect firm as part of there, but maybe having someone or a small team within them that have a bit more of an understanding in terms of what may then impact us and the integrator slightly later on in the project. That would again be a beneficial step.
I think I'd agree with that. In the AV industry, we have a huge number of disciplines other than just AV equipment. We have to know about networks. We have to know about health and safety regulations. We have to know about CDM. We also have to know a bit about how buildings are put together and how they're designed. So we need an expertise in that area. We can't walk in and be surprised by stuff, and we can head off certain problems by knowing about these things. But I think it is just having a bit of that building skill set in the business rather than an architect per se.
Yeah, I was having this exact conversation with a UK integrator last night who does a lot of education stuff, but they were saying they've gone down the route of kind of an individual who will take care of that for them because they're doing £20 million worth of projects every year. Is that more the route that you would go down? And the guy that I interviewed that originally came up with this question, I also spoke to him last night, and it's a huge company, but he said they've got 30 people alone in India just doing Revit and BIM drawings for them.
Well, we have to have we have to do CAD drawings
and in-house
and Revit. We have to have that in-house.
Sure. How is that handled? Do you have an individual or a team? Or
we have a number of people. We don't do much BIM, to be honest. Again, BIM is still, even on big projects, it's still like a cumbersome process, and somebody has to be in charge of the BIM model, and we found the most available actually to submit 2D AutoCAD into a BIM model. But if we have a BIM project, we have someone who can do BIM, but it's very labour intensive.
And also as well, you've got to keep if you are if you are a member of a team within an integrator that is looking after that, maybe thinking about that part as a whole would be very time consuming, because obviously you've got a lot of other things going on within the construction side. So that BIM model always needs to be fed in with all the updated information continuously. So that's just a big continuous animal that needs to be fed the whole time.
Dan, how do you guys handle that at Hewshot? Is it when there's a project team, there will be one individual who will handle BIM,
we've got
Revit?
a CAD team that do all our CAD drawings and Revit drawings, and at the moment, as it stands, we work very, very closely when we're engaged with the architects to both obviously work with the architects on our element to make sure that we've got the right containment in the right places and that sort of thing, and then we would create not only the CAD files, we would create the Revit files as well, so to give it a little bit more of a 3D feel for the client to actually walk around the building as well. So,
do you see that skill set, that kind of drawing skill set, becoming more in demand as we go on this year, next year, or do you think it'll always remain 5% of your workforce, 10%?
I don't know. BIM is a lovely thing, when it works, but it's a very labour-intensive thing, and a lot of projects think we don't need it. But it's a great way for coordination because you're building it in a coordinated environment, not turning up and going, oh, this doesn't fit later on. So it is, in theory, it's brilliant. Yeah, there's your drawing.
Yeah. No. There's a massive demand for that, and I think that's only going to get really more and more important, I think. And also the detail within the drawings as well. I feel that it's probably going to get more and more.
But a BIM architects, we call them, then architects, or a CAD technician, it's a very specific role, and it's drawing. Let's be honest, it's not being an architect; it's drawing. And it's very labour intensive. It's a long, drawn out process, but it isn't an architect. It's a drawing person.
I mean, looking more generally at the relationship between consultants and architects, you mentioned the word friction earlier on. I think one previous event we did, one previous event, it was similar to your quote. One previous event was they have aesthetics, we have physics, and I thought that perfectly summed up
it is,
I mean, do you think something that was brought up was that maybe thought it was maybe a generational thing? If we're getting younger architects, that might solve
it's not
the
just
problem.
younger.
There will always be that tension or friction.
There will be, because we have different names. They've kind of created this beautiful thing, and it's fine. And we want to stick a screen on the wall.
But could a younger generation of architects maybe change that?
I think education generally. I mean, when I was, a few years ago, and architects thought AV was something you took out of a cupboard and plonked on a table. Now they're getting used to it, and it's not just the pure AV. It's actually the design of meeting rooms from an acoustic point of view to get the lighting right. These are now specialisms they're coming to terms with. It's getting better every day. There are still some people who don't understand it, but once they've been down the journey of doing a building with it all in, it gets better.
Get the flavour.
Do you think younger architects could maybe, because they've grown up with technology, maybe the older generation haven't?
Possibly. The only other thing I would say is, again, touching back upon the acoustic side of things and the materials within the room. A lot more buildings that we are working on now have exposed concrete everywhere, and glass walls and those sort of things.
Which audio traditionally loves.
And open plans.
And massively open plan spaces.
That goes against acoustic,
absolutely. Which obviously brings its challenges, from an acoustic point of view, from an audio isolation point of view as well. You've got all these other, touching upon your point again within the physics element, that's where
I'm sure you have the same thing. We try and engage at as an early stage as possible.
Absolutely.
With the architects to point out this room is going to be used for this. It needs to have blah 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 specifications, or it won't work. And when they don't work, they don't work. A conferencing room with a poor acoustic doesn't work because the people on the other end just hear this rattly or reverby cacophony.
I mean, a couple of things from what you just said. Something that comes up time and time again, but is it the key getting in as early as you can? Do you both agree with that?
Always.
Absolutely. That's why, that's why, in a way, when this subject of the conversation came up, that's what caught my eye, and that's the first thought in my head, was that actually, that would be, like we said earlier, not maybe not a whole architectural firm, but a small team within there that would be working on that building. So then there is that chance that we could get in as early as possible. So that way then we can be part of the advisory board in terms of what materials or what shape walls and things like that we would recommend in order for a room to work. And obviously, like you touched upon there with video conferencing rooms and things like that, if if you've got poor acoustics in there, and also lighting and natural lighting coming through that would create like silhouettes and things like that. These are all the little issues that architects tend to not forget, but tend to sort of not think about. Because it doesn't necessarily, it's not within their scope. So
And while we're bashing architects, they make rooms too small. Because particularly in London, we do a lot of work in the city, and space is a premium. So you go, a 6-person room, okay, can just about fit a table with 6 people in. And we want to make a video conference. You can't walk around it. The camera angle's not great. They put furniture up against tables. You can't do interactive work. They don't think of the technology. They think of the furniture. So,
how can you get that message across? I guess it's
very difficult to do.
Because by then it's already done.
If you say, okay, you want 20 meeting rooms, well, they need to be twice the size. You can only have 10, or they won't work very well. It's a very difficult conversation.
What are the big pressure points then? I mean, you've touched on a few of them. I always thought it was things like cabling or audio were the sort of big things that they would never think about.
That again can be an issue as well. Like I said earlier, when you've got solid floors, solid concrete floors, solid concrete walls, maybe even glass walls, and you've got a solid exposed slab on the ceiling with obviously your cable work and your trunking and your AC and everything else above you. Really, some of your low-level stuff, your only hope for cabling is actually chasing out, containment, which again, really is something that you need to get in early doors to be able to make sure that you can get all that in place. Because obviously there's structural elements there. So if it's on the first floor upwards, you want to chase out an element of the floor to get your cabling in. Obviously, you want to get that in early and make sure that it's part of the build as well. Do you know what I mean? So, there's elements like that can be an issue as well. I find.
They can. I mean, I suppose I'm finding less problems with those. I mean, again, over in here we usually got configurable flooring where we got stuff underneath it, which makes it relatively easy. Sure. Even exposed ceilings now, people don't seem to mind a bit of tray going across it. Yeah. As long as we're there in time of the way, I don't have too much problem with that. It is the fundamental stuff that isn't part of our specification, things that affect the efficacy of the systems we introduced. Acoustics, lighting, room size being the big ones.
Just to finish up, do you guys feel positive that things will get better in terms of the relationship and the understanding between the two parties?
Yes, probably. I don't see it as a problem. I think this is a natural debate we'll have where we have to come up and go, okay, we need this in this room. Suck it up. No, they will appreciate a screen's going on a wall, and if there's some subtlety they haven't done, like you can't put the furniture up against it. This is a WebEx board. We need people to interact with it. There needs to be space for someone to walk. Those things they do understand, and I think they're smart enough people. And I say it's a natural tension between functionality and aesthetics, or it's aesthetics and physics, as you say. And it always will be.
Feel positive?
Absolutely. And I think a lot of it is the relationship that you tend to sort of try to build with the architect as you're running a project as well, and the way that you go about the coordination element between you as a consultant, the architect, and the actual project team within the client. Because obviously there can be situations where you as a consultant are proposing a video wall, for example, and your client is very, very in favour of that, but the particular location where that is going within the building is not quite as a positive sort of thing for the architect. So going back to that, the tension between some of the teams, sometimes that can be quite, but again, that sort of comes down to where the client preference, that sort of thing.
And you've got to have a good working relationship with these people. We're all professionals.
And we're all there to get the job done
for the same. We're working for the same client ultimately. We just have to work together to come up with a design. And I'd say usually it's fine. It doesn't usually end up as a confrontation situation. It's a discussion, and people need to understand what the pressures and parameters are. We don't win every argument. If they need a certain number of meeting rooms for whatever reason, that's the number they'll have, rather than us knocking them in and making them bigger rooms.
So, absolutely.
Brilliant. Stephen, Darren, many thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
No problem at all.
Keep watching the homepage for more panel discussions from ISE 2019. I hope you enjoyed this one. There's plenty more to watch if you'd like. Okay, thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.